All right. Thanks for everyone joining here. We're going to get started. This is kind of a little bonus little episode. We've been doing our community meetups now for every other week for, oh my gosh, like a year and a half, something like that, every other Friday.
hmm
And marketing just always kind of naturally kind of starts taking over the conversation as rightfully as it should. But I figured let's just do a little bonus episode here and just get some of the marketing experts to come on, be able to talk more in depth. Just nothing but nothing but marketing. Feel free to put in your questions, comments in the chat. We'll try to bring you up as well. If something doesn't apply, cool. Still ask, and we'll try to catch you on the next meetup. So still anything goes, but we're gonna try to keep it as much marketing oriented as we can. We're gonna go for an hour. I'll try to be mindful of everyone's time. So right at the top of the hour, we'll turn this off. I'll record this for everyone so they can watch this later on as well. So for that kind of convenience, be perfect. Figure where it's just kind of the three of us do the highlight here. Let's just take a minute, introduce yourself, kind of a little bit more of the history of storage and marketing, and then we'll jump into it. So Eva, I'll let you go first.
All right, of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Eva Chavez. I am, 15 years in marketing. 10 of those years have been strictly and solely dedicated to storage. I started off my career in the property management side of things for 4 years there, where we only dealt with storage. We did everything from construction, groundbreaking, new acquisition, all the way to selling the facilities as well. So there was a constant rotation of new old facilities at that place. There I met someone, and from I kind of moved over to the tech prop aspect of storage. And then I worked for another 4 years in a company where we built from the ground up a CRM, payment portal, website, FMS, anything you can think of, you name it, we built it. And I worked and was able to meet Cori there. And then I just decided that I wanted to be from behind a paywall and kind of work with everybody and anybody. So I stepped out from behind that role there and moved into my own business here at Beacon Ave. And I've been doing that for about 2 years, again, only for the storage industry.
Yeah, I love that we niche, just for storage. That's the way it should be. I love it. All right, Corey, you're up.
All right. Well, I'm Cori Garrod. I've been in the industry for 22 years now. I started off working with a large regional operator in California. Started off in the call center in 2003 and kept begging the owner to do something about the website because, in 2003, nobody was doing anything with all of that. And I'm like, I'm tired of getting phone calls. Let's fix this. So be careful what you ask for because that's what you get put in charge of. That actually launched my digital marketing career. So I've been in this since the beginning. I've seen all the changes, right? I knew more about SEO than any of our vendors did. And it's just been an amazing journey. So I worked with that company for 17 years. And we were one of the very first ones to actually launch online rentals in 2014. I wish I had trademarked rent now because everybody uses that. So it's just been interesting to see the journey. And then I worked with Eva over in property tech for a little while, 2.5 years about. And yes, learning everything and anything about all the ins and outs of a PMS. And decided really that's not where my area of expertise really truly, and that's not my passion, right? And so for me, it was like call centers and customer experience and digital marketing. That's my passion. So I've decided to go out and I'm doing consulting on my own as well. So I have my own company, Garrod Self Storage Solutions, and really just helping owners either help with their customer experience all around, optimizing or setting up a call center, making those recommendations, and all things digital marketing. So it's been an amazing journey. And it's been kind of a unique one. People don't understand how call centers and website fit together, but they really do because without one, the other doesn't exist, right? And so it's kind of an interesting thing. And so that's kind of my background.
Nice. Well, I guess I got to play along too. I'll give you the 30-second version here. Jim Ross from 3 Mile Storage Management. Been in storage for 25-ish years. I kind of quit counting. It's been a while. Manager, regional manager, kind of keep moving up the ranks, kind of a theme, but marketing is my passion. I mean, you can kind of tell just from what I do. It's I love marketing with the videos and the books I put out and doing the summits and being in a ringleader, kind of hosting these kind of things. It's education. Bringing value back to the industry. Hopefully in an entertaining way. You get something out of it. but it just comes down to education, bringing value to the industry, and not just myself, but others that are willing to bring their time and expertise to come on here in the community. So first off, thank you guys for being here and doing this, and thanks for everyone for showing up. That's awesome. Uh, this is kind of start off with, I mean, basically, while we're doing this, I think really we're all feeling it. It's a little bit tighter than it has been in years past. Just with getting the phone to ring and doing the conversions and competitions. So I wanted to have this focus solely on marketing, on what people can get some value out of, take something, put it in their business, and hopefully help them stand out amongst the noise and get the phone to ring more and getting some more rentals coming in. So that's basically kind of the framework here. Uh, Still kind of free flowing, but might have some frameworks here to kind of go off of. But Eva, I'll let you riff for a little while. Tell me what's going on.
Oh, you're on mute, Eva.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I always mute myself and then I forget to unmute. So I kind of want to touch base on like ads. I know recently paid has been a four-letter bad word for a lot of people, and it's just not been the most, I would say, advantageous for everybody. Uh, a lot of the times I'm able to get my hands on an ads account from an agency that's not within our industry. And 9 times out of 10, I can say that most of your budget is running towards things that are not going to bring a lead in. So one of my biggest gripes or biggest fights right now is just making sure that you're following up with your ad agencies and really sitting down with them and understanding what they're putting you out there for, what your ad looks like, what keywords you're being found under. Actually ask for your search terms, not just the keywords, because there's keywords that you can show up for, but the search terms as well. Another big thing that people don't realize is that your ads can be immediately attached to your GBP. So instead of just having to wait to be found on that first page for your GBP, which is your Google Business Profile, you can actually put yourself on the first page immediately for both organic and your maps. So you're not waiting for that organic 3 mile flow. Sorry, I heard like a chime in. But yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about and have anybody kind of open the room up to see if anybody had any questions about that and talk about that in whatever depth anybody would like to talk about that.
Well, I got a question here for you.
Yeah.
And again, you can jump in, put your comments in there, and I'll bring you up because I think everyone's kind of defaulted as muted. So, little heads up. But no, obviously doing ads, and I try to do as many ads as I can where it makes sense. But I know the pushback is it's just so expensive, and the big boys they're just push me out. The pay per clicks keep going up and up and up. How do you combat that, or can you, frankly?
Yeah, I'm actually able to get a pretty cost-effective cost per click across all of my campaigns. I think right now I sit at around like $4 to $5 across all of my campaigns for a cost per click, which is on the lower end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Usually we're sitting at an industry rate around $8 to $10. I've seen some that go up to 12 to 15, which I is egregious and I would never. But a big thing is just having somebody who understands what quality scores are and what you're actually leading that ad to. So if a page has no content on it, it has nothing that the bots can actually pull from and understand what you're doing other than the container page that can like holds your unit mix. There's not much that you're doing for your actual ads. So a quick couple of paragraphs, some directions, make sure your header, your title tag, your meta description, your meta tags, your title tag, everything like that is put in order, like in a proper order. Like a big thing that I've told everybody is just make sure that you have your special in your title tag. 50% off if you have 50% off for 2 months, but that as your very first thing that you have, 50% off for 2 months slash, address or phone number, storage units, whatever you want to put in, storage units, city name. The reason why I do that is because the very first thing that people see on that first page is your organic, and I call that an ad as well. It's just a free ad. So you want to make sure that you're advertising above those public storages and extra spaces and catching that person's eye by saying you have a special immediately. So one of that alone will help with the interaction of that website. Then on top of that, just the content that you put into that, the bots knowing that you're putting effort forward into that page that has content that's legible and reads back to those keywords, then brings up the quality score so that you can have a lower cost per click. All of that in tune with the fact that you have to have negative keywords. I have over 5,000 keywords that are a negative keyword list that I put into place, because you can pretty much append the keyword storage to anything if you really think about it, and it will bring up something. So you have to have a very extensive negative keyword list. I make sure I negative out any of the areas that I don't want to be found under. And I also have a very tight 3 to 5 mile radius unless I find it advantageous to go further out. There are some industry specific type things like RVs. You can go out 10 to 15 miles. So it does go a little bit further than that. So those are the things that you have to really hone in on and make sure that you're doing correctly. If you're doing those correctly, you can get a really low cost per click. And that cost per click can put you above your public storage, your extra space, your selfstorage.com, your storage area, all of those aggregators and big REITs, so that you're being found predominantly on that first page, number one,
And
for
again,
$300 to $600, not thousands of dollars.
I mean,
That's the big catch.
and again, this is why I named my company 3 Mile, because again, you're focusing on the 3 mile. Sometimes people get caught up in their head of a wide net in their marketing and things like that. It's like if you just really focus just on that market, right off the bat, you're not wasting some ad dollars. But I want to go back to something you said. Dumb it down for us.
Okay.
Negative keywords.
Yes.
Okay.
So instead of wanting to be found for keywords, you have a list of keywords you don't want to be found for. So like one of the big things is like cloud storage or pod storage, locker storage, things like that. So I make sure the keyword locker doesn't show up for your keywords. Cloud doesn't show up, but still storage. So I can pretty much leave broad term storage open for any variation that I really want someone who's actually looking for storage to be found under. Google is the one who's going to ultimately make that decision as to if that customer is the right customer, but I've made it so hard for them to make a mistake that they're not really going to. And when they do, I also go through every month and I go through my search terms and I add the ones that make it through to that negative keyword list. And then I also have a competitor negative keyword list, and I make sure I'm not showing up for our competitors for ads. Unless that's a specific strategy you want, you don't really want to be found under your competitors, because usually 9 times out of 10, that's a person calling to pay their bill or complain. So you don't want your managers taking that.
Yeah,
It's a really good point.
and something else you said was, tell me if I got the right takeaway from it, was do the housekeeping, make sure your foundation is correct first on your website before you start even thinking about doing the AdWords and spending money on it, because otherwise you're just kind of lighting your money on fire.
Just a little bit of content, making sure that there is a good quality score to that page, that it's not, you know, frustrating to the end user or client as they get to it and they are able to make that conversion.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
it's not a set it and forget it kind of a thing. I mean, both of you guys have to see this all the time, right? People just, oh, I haven't a campaign, but they probably haven't looked at it forever and adjusted anything. Is that
Yeah, and their winter campaign is still showing in its summer now. So, there's yeah, yeah, yeah. Or, Memorial Day has passed and you're seeing the ads for Memorial Day sale. So, and actually one of the big REITs is doing that. So it's just
Nope.
one of those things. Yep. And so, yeah,
That.
I know, yay for us, but yeah, it's just having that foundation is so important. I mean, it just helps all the way around. So just, for me, I'm a huge technical SEO proponent, right? And so if you have that foundation, it helps you in so many ways, and then it makes your advertising just that more effective.
That's good. I got one more question for you. It could be either one of you, but for pay-per-click, because I get this a lot. It's not my expertise. That's why I go to you guys. People that haven't done it before, they're kind of a new site. They got their website, it's dialed in, it's awesome, but they want to start doing pay-per-click. Kind of a good budget to start testing the waters. I mean, I usually tell them at least $500 just to kind of get enough data to kind of flow through to see what you're working with. But I was just throwing a number out there. Do you have any kind of some sort of budget for newbies to test the waters when it comes to pay-per-click?
Yeah, I always say about $300 test waters. If you
Cheaper
have a
than me,
lease,
so all right.
it's that I'm on the low end of the spectrum. I know it. I don't like to spend people's money unless I know what I'm doing with it. So I take that to $300. I test the market, test the waters, and then I can move it up from there. Generally, like, uh, well, I'd say like I'll go up to like about $500, $600, but that's once I've been able to track back leads and actually come back and say, hey, your ROI is like $80 to $120 per conversion.
And I actually think that's an extremely important part of this whole thing, and I've seen it time and again, is making sure that you've got all of your tracking and your conversion data correct, right? So that's something that I've seen a lot. And at the end of the day, you're spending a lot of money. You need to know where those advertising dollars are going, and you need to be able to track it back to a rental. And if you don't have the right tracking set up in your Google Analytics and your Google Tag Manager, and your website is actually able to convert and track that data, it's really difficult to track those dollars. And so that's something that I really I see a lot. And so just come at the end of the day, you're testing everything, but make sure you're tracking it too.
Yeah.
Is there, and again, I'm playing the role of operator too, because again, I'm in this. I live it every day. Is there
Yeah.
softwares? Again, no allegiance. We can flat out say what's going on. Any softwares that make it easier or harder to track, so you can track those ROIs if they're actually booking from
I mean,
an ad?
from my perspective, making sure that your website platform is able to actually track your conversion data. There are limitations that are out there. If you're using a storeable website and you're a site link customer and you're using what they call Rental Center 2, they're not giving you your conversion data. So you can't actually track it all the way down, and it makes it very, very difficult. So there are certain limitations to certain platforms where you're not able to get the same tracking data that you can with others. And I think that's something that's super important as you're looking for a website vendor and you're asking those questions and you're setting up your advertising campaigns, that you can actually track it all the way down to if they submit a form.
Yeah.
Right.
Why would,
Yeah.
again, it is being critical, but why would they want to be able to give that information and make it easy to track? I don't.
I know.
So it's just back in the old days, we used to always take payment portals offline. It used to always jump to a different URL. The way that analytics used to track cookies and data, it was trackable. The way that it's changed recently, it no longer does that. So we can't go through that third party and bring it back over because UA from GA4 has changed the way that we were able to track that data. So it didn't used to be as bad of a problem as it is now. And now it has become a pretty big industry problem because I would say 6 out of 10 of my operators are usually on a platform that does not allow for them to track their conversions all the way through.
Which ones do?
I mean, I can name like Cubby, Storage Pug helps with that process. Tenant does. I know, help me here, Cori.
The SSM new web cloud web
Oh, yes, that's the
platform
same
does,
web
yeah,
platform
yeah.
does. So there are platforms out there that do that. There are some that integrate with current platforms that you have that help with that process. Like the Storage Pug that I mentioned will help with like SiteLink, I believe, and I can't remember if it was one other one. I think of the storage.
Storage. Yeah.
Storage. Okay. So and storage. And then yeah, there's Cubby, which is a full service software as well, I believe, and Tenant is pretty much full package as well. But so you just kind of have to figure out what works for you. Oh,
Yeah, but you
Storage
also have
Pug works with Cubby too. Perfect. Thank
That's
you.
right. That was just announced.
And
Thanks,
Josh.
you also have to
Josh
be
for the
armed,
win.
and you have to be armed with to know what questions to even ask.
Yes, that's
Frankly,
the thing.
I mean,
Bring one of
I
us.
can guarantee 9 out of 10 owners and operators, they're not asking, can I track it all the way through and get my ROI if I'm doing ads? They're not asking that.
Yeah.
So
No,
we're putting together a Q&A thing that they need to ask, the resource. Okay. I'm writing that down.
I think that's a great idea, because you don't know what you don't know. And so I think that's a challenge. And I think the other thing too, and this was something that was just top of mind as I was reviewing one of my case studies that I wanted to talk about today, was
Yeah.
when you're changing website platforms, even if you're just changing your platform from Storage Pug to the storeable website, there are certain factors that you just need to have those conversations and really talk about and think through so that it's strategic, because there's a lot of analytics and a lot of data that you can lose.
Oh, for sure. Well, no, tee yourself up. Has it something you want to talk about? So please take it
Oh
away.
yeah, so I do actually. I have a great a case study for that actually. So I've got an operator. We've been working together since January, and they had switched from Storage Pug to Storable, and they were starting to see a pretty big decrease in the number of leads they were receiving, and their traffic took a downturn. So it's like, okay, well, let's dig in and figure out what's happening. And this is one of my specialties is citations, right? And so it's like, okay, well, let's just take a look and see what's happening, and take a look at your traffic and figure out what we've got. And so we did make some changes on their technical SEO side. There were some issues that happened. And that's one of the things when you're working with your website vendor and changing platforms, trying to get someone who understands the technical SEO side of that so that it's done in a way that doesn't harm you, is super important. So we actually wound up having to change a whole lot of, and we talk about all this metadata, but there's a lot of information there. Like each page has its own unique function. And you want to make sure that that's called out appropriately. And the way that the search engines understand that is through metadata. So you want to make sure that you're not using the same title across all those pages because each page serves a different function and each page needs a different description. So the search engines actually can understand what your page is about. So all that data is super important. And if you've got the same information across your whole website, it really does impact you significantly. So we cleaned up a lot of that. Found the issue with the citations. If you're changing website providers, your URL structure changes a little bit. And so if you don't have the right team in place or the right knowledge there, you don't have a citation program in place, all of your old links are leading to a page that doesn't exist anymore. So it actually really impacts your SEO, right? And so at the end of the day, it impacts your traffic because all of a sudden you're going to a page that doesn't exist and the search engines will just bring that ranking down. Go ahead, Eva.
So there's a question that keeps coming up before you finish is what are citations? And so I wanted to stop you.
Yes. Okay, the important thing, the 101 that we always forget to talk about. So citations are all of the different places where your property exists, right? So your facility has a listing everywhere. Think Yext and Yelp and Foursquare and Apple My Business and your Google My, I mean, everybody knows Google My Business, or Google Business Profile, right? Everybody knows that. But there are so many other Bing places, all of those other places. There are so many different directories. It's untold. Like there's just so many different places. But if your old URL is showing up on those places and they don't get fixed, they're not helping you, it's hindering you. So just making sure that you've got a good program. And I know Jim, even we know this inside and out. You can always reach out to us about like best practices, but leverage either a program or someone who has the expertise that uses the program to work on those citations, because they're super important. And the other component of that then is, as we're starting to get into the way search is changing, people aren't using Google as much. ChatGPT is more and more common, and large language models aren't using Google's index, and they're not necessarily using your Google business profile. And I can actually show you guys some live examples of that too.
I got one quick question.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody here is trying to think the same thing. When we're talking about name, address, phone number, kind of a thing, what about when people that are actually doing the tracking and they have these tracking phone numbers? How does that fit in with all this?
I mean, me and Cori can both get into this.
I know.
Deep in the weeds on this one.
What?
Deep in the weeds, right?
Oh yeah. Like, because Cori did call centers and I did overlaying call tracking. So we're like two sides of the same coin. But the tracking numbers, you definitely have to have dynamic tracking numbers if you're going to be doing it. It's not something that you want to have a separate phone number on your citations. It's not worth it. And your website should be able to do dynamic tracking, which is basically you have a phone number.
Yeah.
Which is basically you have a phone number that is your standard, like your actual phone number when it's comes from like a GBP or a organic click. Each one of those clicks changes the phone number specifically to its source. So then when that person calls, you know that they're calling because when they came to your website, they came from an ad or they came from organic. The only caveat to that, or the, I guess, downfall to that, is if they call you directly from your GBP or your, ad or anything like that directly off that first page, it is going to be that same phone number. There's no tracking to it. But I say that the tracking on where it came from versus what it does to your citations far outweighs, like what it does to your citation outweighs the tracking on the phone number itself. Personally, I don't know if Cori has a different take on that, but I'd love to hear it.
No, actually, I think that's an excellent point. Dynamic tracking is so important. Um, yes, making sure that you've got that phone number consistent across the board on those citations is important. It's highly critical. So leveraging dynamic tracking numbers, because call tracking is an important part of your ROI, right? And I think that's something that was also something very near and dear to my heart as I was doing also the call center and the website. Is just making sure that you know where your phone calls are coming from, and being able to track and attribute those calls to your different advertising sources. And I think um, there's a miss in the industry right now still with trying to get that actually all into your PMS. I've seen some great strides happen, and that's changing a lot, but definitely the dynamic numbers is the way to go, and
So doing
and
dynamic
avoiding,
tracking numbers won't affect too much your citation.
yeah,
As long as they're
yeah,
dynamic, that's the bottom line. Okay.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Good. What about when people are, again, I just put myself in the owner's shoes, listen to this, and they're going, I have a storage software and I'm getting billed SEO. I just see it on my invoice, I'm getting billed for SEO. How does that weave in with what we're talking about here? I mean, what we're going through here, this is a different level, right? I mean, it just kind of seems like their SEO is very minimal, for lack of a better word, not really getting too much in depth on really ranking your website. Could be wrong. Just
I'd
want
say
to get the experts' opinions here.
I'd say that what's out there right now is a lot of technical and on-page SEO, like or back-end SEO that's happening. And so there's not a lot done in between that. So it's like development SEO where it happens in like queues with the development process, like every 6 months. So it's not constantly being touched, but it is advantageous. But again, it's how much they're putting that effort into it because there's, obviously there's some that are on the higher end of the spectrum and then some that are on the lower end of the spectrum. And I can get really deep into like your data layer and your sitemap. And we could talk about that all day. And then I'll really lose everyone in the crowd. But uh,
Well,
that's kind of where me and Cori come in and we can help you really understand that more in-depth side of things and also help you understand if you need to have a further page into SEO or something a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the other thing too is, we always marketing in general, we're at a loss sometimes about like how do we really present the return on investment. I think at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. So
yeah.
making sure that when you're working with somebody who provides SEO, that they're giving you reporting and KPIs that make sense to you, right? At the end of the day, when you're talking about your SEO, right, your search engine optimization, what are you talking about? Well, you're talking about your organic traffic. So, having conversations about how you can track it and what you can see and having a target on, I want to see my traffic, my organic traffic increase XYZ. How are we going to get there? I think that's actually a really important conversation to have. And I don't think enough people are having that. And
That's
I
why
think
we
a lot of marketing companies can't even provide that. So, it's just, making sure that it's accountability at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think with my SEO program on a monthly basis, you automatically get a Monday report that goes over what the previous 30 days kind of housed for you in terms of new users, old users, just all the different kind of metrics that I've put together for my customers. And then another big thing that I really like to track is also your keywords, where you're showing up in Search Console. Search Console is a big tool that I think people forget to use. It's completely free and it tells you exactly what's happening on Google with all of your clients.
And
Exactly.
wholly underutilized.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Amen.
totally underutilized. I
Yeah.
use it to submit sitemaps every time I make a change to the content so that the bots immediately run the website. So I'm not waiting 2 to 3 weeks to see all of my content be pushed into the, Ethernet. I get to see my title tags usually come up in 2 or 3 days versus 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think that actually really leads into a lot of the questions that we're seeing in chat right now
yeah,
about
go ahead. Yeah.
GPT. And so one of the things that I really highly encourage every single person on this call to do is go search for your facility on ChatGPT and see if you show up. That's something that's super important. And that's where your citations come in. So let me actually show you a good example. I've got a client of mine who we've been working through just their local SEO and some different things. It's a smaller Smaller community, there's not a lot, but I think this is a good example of a few things. So Jim, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Please, yeah, you should be able to share. You know
Okay.
me, I love my visuals, so anything you can
Yeah, I know. Everybody's a
Yes,
visual, right?
do it,
So
please. Yeah, that's
let's see
great.
if I can find it here. Where is it? Oh, there it is, right in the middle, right where I should see it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. All right, and of course you guys can see my Zoom here, but let's get this out of the way. I can actually see.
All good.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I use ChatGPT all the time. Just as an aside, I was on a women's sailing adventure last night. It was a great meetup. We were having a conversation. Someone couldn't remember the title of a book where we were talking about a story. And instead of somebody pulling out their phone and saying, let me Google it, it was like, let me ask ChatGPT. So if you're not using it, I'm telling you, everybody's using it now. And so I would definitely go ahead and ask ChatGPT, can you help me find storage unit in whatever city you are? That way you can actually track, your different facilities if you're not in the same vicinity. This will give you an idea of what's going on. But it'll normally, not always, but it will normally serve a map for you and a list. And so I'm going to show you the map. Well, actually the list view has it too. So my client, and they've allowed me to talk about them, so is Ramona Self Storage. I keep trying to get them to change their website, but we're doing as much as we can on their local SEO. And so I did a search for them originally, and I had a result similar to what I'm seeing here for Alamo Self Storage. There was not a lot of information. It actually had the wrong business hours. It showed it was closed, and I didn't have any data for it. It actually showed up at the wrong, it showed up as a retail facility instead of storage. And so there was all kinds of things that I'm like, okay, well, where is it getting the data from? And I was looking into it, and in December of last year, Foursquare actually announced that ChatGPT was going to be leveraging their database. And I said, great, let me go see what I can do to fix this. So I went through and I claimed all their Foursquare listings individually, just as a test. It's nice. I've worked closely with this client, and we have a good relationship about letting them be my little guinea pig sometimes. But so it was great because it was like, okay, let me see if claiming their Foursquare listing and making that update changes that in ChatGPT. And within 24 hours, I showed Eva the screenshots before, actually. Within 24 hours, it corrected the information, it had the correct access hours, and it pulled in some pictures from Foursquare, and it bumped everything up. So it's actually one of those things, if you're using a citation service, so like I put in chat, you could use Yext, SEMrush, Reputation. I mean, there's a plethora of them available. To make sure they're using Foursquare as one of the citation sources when you're going through that process, because it's where ChatGPT is actually pulling information. And so you can actually see Alamo Self Storage here. They don't have a lot of information, and I can confirm this because I looked up Alamo Self Storage on Foursquare, and here's the location, and you can see there's no photo there. So that has become, and that's something that's kind of gone by the wayside. Nobody talks about Foursquare anymore. We talked about that 15 years ago, right? No, it's fallen by the wayside.
Makes
But
me think of elementary school recess.
exactly. And
I wonder if
so
anybody even remembers really what Foursquare was, like how gamified it was. You could be like the king of your area, or what was it called? Or like the mayor. I think it was the mayor.
mayor, you could be the mayor.
Yeah, you could
Yes,
be the
you could be the
mayor of your
mayor.
area, or you could be
No
like,
bubbles. You can't do bubbles. Remember that?
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
and then you
I'm sidetracking you. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah, but so it's one of the things, and you don't really think about that. We, as an industry, we've all been so very concerned with Google, but now it's just been flipped. And so making sure that you've got your citations with all of those other sources are there. And ChatGPT actually uses Bing's index and not Google's index when it's doing searches for you. So making sure that you claim your Bing places and making sure that your websites are indexed there is that now becomes super important where it hadn't been before. And what's really interesting is it'll also serve up all the information. And so Eva, again, this is talking about making sure your content is there. It's going to pull in all the other information about your amenities and your pricing and all the little extras. So just making sure that you've got good content that's formatted technically well so that the search engines can understand them and the large language models can understand them is going to benefit you immensely.
Got a quick question, because again, I'm sure someone might be thinking of it. We keep talking about citations kind of throughout this. is that a, hey, I did my citations. Is it a one and done thing? I submitted it and I'm done, or is it a monthly recurring thing you got to keep up on?
Before we touch base on that, I just really quickly want to show
Okay,
people
go
what
ahead.
a citation can do for you if you've never had citations before in 1 month.
Sweet.
So this is a heat
Another
map.
show and tell?
Another little show and tell, just a really quick one.
Oh, I like
This
it.
is for an RV storage facility, and you can see that within about a month and 10 days, we submitted their sitemap on the 26th of March. Sorry, month and 16 days, something like that. And then on the 16th of May, I resubmitted to see what we did, and you can see that that heat map did expand pretty dramatically. So everywhere that you see green or yellow, that's where they're actually showing up on that first or above the scroll. Red is where they're showing up below the scroll. You can see in March 26th, there was a lot more red. They were not penetrating the area very predominantly, and they're pretty much the only RV storage facility in this area, so there was no reason that they shouldn't be. So when we hit their citations, it was an immediate boost. You can see that we have a much larger green area. That means they're showing up on that very, very first page. They don't have to click into the maps or anything for these green ones. And now these yellow ones are showing up so they don't have to scroll to be found on that first page. And now they're actually competing against other facilities in the area that are storage and RV facilities for the very, very first time. Because before they were not able to compete against those actual storage facilities. Their content was so convoluted. They actually were trying to compete against storage, but they have no storage at this facility. So I had to tear apart their content and make it really refined down to storage, RV only, and then put it into the citations and really get that out there so that they understood who they were. And this is what the result was. It's a pretty, just in, less than like a little over 30 days, a pretty
That's amazing.
dramatic change in
I love the
Oh,
before and
I
after
know.
maps are awesome.
And I've got a really good example too, Eva, that I can share.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
love showing those. Those are my favorite because that's what really grabs people. They're like, whoa, I can get first page placement
Yeah.
for that many dots instead of this many dots.
Right.
And real quick, guys, I mean, just pull it up real quick if you don't mind again, one more time.
Oh yeah.
What we're talking about here is like you're in the very center of that's your site, the very center. Go 1 mile out. That's the next dot. Go 1 mile out. That's the next dot. That's like if someone's saying self-storage near me. That's where you're kind of showing up in those results if you're standing in that geographic location. So 3 mile radius, basically 1 mile out for each dot. That kind of helps. A little more storytelling what that is, but
Perfect. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great point. This is about, they had about a little under a mile reach here. Now they're going into their 2.5 mile reach here.
yeah, see, that's awesome. All right, what'd you have, Cori?
All right. So let me share my screen with you guys.
Yep.
So I've got a client of mine who I also helped with all their citations. And we went through a project to really get things dialed in and fix their technical SEO, and then went through their citations. And so you can actually see this is their leads year over year. And the change is what we've got here. So I engaged with them at the end of January. I fixed all the technical SEO issues that we had in the beginning of February, and then we did their citations campaign. One facility, you can see that we jumped from having a net loss year over year for the number of, this is the number of leads because we don't have a lot of conversion tracking. Unfortunately, our hands are tied with that because of the platform they're using. But just looking at their leads for March, we actually jumped significantly, not by changing pay-per-click spend, not by doing anything other than fixing their citations and fixing their technical SEO. And it's a huge jump. So we went and we actually improved the number of leads year over year. And so it's not just traffic, it's leads. And I think that's something that's super important to measure as much as you can. So we actually jumped to a 35-40% increase in leads year over year just by going through a citations and a local SEO campaign.
That's awesome. That kind of leads me to my next question here. And hopefully you guys are this format is working for everybody. And I know I'm kind of leading the questions here. If anyone has questions, please put it in chat. But I'm trying to put myself into your guys' position here and kind of leading the conversation. So hopefully this format's kind of working for you. We got a lot to cover in a short time period, so that's why we're doing it this way. Okay, we're talking about leads. Cool. They're getting leads. They're going to your website. Do you guys look at hundreds of websites, if not thousands of websites in the storage industry? Is there something that's better when they actually land on your website to help convert? Because I hate spending all this money and doing all this for the citations and for the leads, but actually when they come to their website, and they bail and they go somewhere else. Is there something that's of all these sites you look at that's better than another one? I know it's a big question, but
It is a big question. You just want to make sure that the online rental or the online reservation process is as frictionless as possible. And sometimes you really are limited by your PMS, right? So if you're using SiteLink, you're very limited because they have a very exacting way for them to be able to have a rental come into their API. So sometimes you are limited by the PMS that you're using. So if you're using SiteLink, that can be extremely limiting. I think that's actually how StoragePug came about, right? They wanted a better way.
Yep.
And they actually improved that process greatly so that you can get through it. You can use Storable's website using SiteLink and their Rental Center 2.0. You lose some of the conversion data, but it still streamlines the process from some of the more antiquated website platforms that are out there. If you want a really good streamlined flow, Tenant has a product where the online rentals flow is actually baked into their whole entire ethos, right? The whole idea of that website is to be able to convert.
I think their motto is like faster than a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
It's part of their like process. They really like that process.
I'm curious, who is it? Do you know?
What, Tenant?
Tenant.
Oh, that's what I missed what you said. Okay.
Yeah, Tenant. That's their motto is like faster than a cup of coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, Cubby now has a really great streamlined online rental process. I've been seeing some great leaps in what they're doing, and I am really, really impressed. I'm actually going to be working with 2 different clients now for an onboarding for Cubby. So I'll really have the ins and outs soon about everything, but they are baking in on top of everything else. They're layering in on the PMS side all of the call tracking too. So if they called, it's actually going to be baked into the PMS, and you're going to be able to get that data. So there's a lot of vendors out there who, when you're evaluating them, honestly, Jim, go through the online rental process.
Do it. Yeah, you are a customer.
You are a customer. Do your due diligence, because if you're frustrated, your customers are going to be frustrated.
Yeah.
What about
I tell my managers to take their website and hand it to somebody who's never rented storage before. Hand this to somebody who's never rented storage before and give them one of 3 use case scenarios. Tell them that you want them to contact us. The manager is to want them to go through the rental process, and then you'll refund them or give them your credit card to do so. And then the other one is go through the reservation process if you have it. Sometimes you don't have it, so if it's not that, then just the 2. But have someone go through that and just take notes and tell you from a perspective of somebody who has no idea what they're doing. You're going to get a lot of notes, especially if you have one of the websites that I know just causes a lot of frustration. I'm floored by the amount, like you can see people drop off to call people from the website. You can see the immediate like connection of like, oh, this client was here, and then there was a phone call immediately, and it's like, oh, okay, they were frustrated with the website.
They hit the wall.
Yeah.
What? Okay, and put everything through the marketing lens here, if I'm a customer, what are your thoughts on this, guys? Well, I come to your website for the first time, never seen it before. Since we're talking about ease of rentals, we get it. We're in the industry of having ease of rentals, but what about plastering that like on the website banner? I don't know, that just says home of the 3-minute rental or quick and easy rentals in under 3 minutes. I don't know, something like that. It just kind of shows that we are easy. Don't worry about going somewhere else. We'll make it quick and painless for you to rent a unit.
I don't think any of that matters. I think price is really the biggest thing. Price and special. I'm so sorry to say it, but that's really the 2 leading motivators for everybody. And that's just what it is. Our product is air in a box. And I love our product. I love what we do. But when people come to us, they're coming to us generally in some of the most difficult times of their lives. And so they're not really caring if it's going to take them 3 minutes to get the process done. They just want to get it done. Like
I had an order
cheap and cost effective.
Speaking about price, I had ordered literally yesterday. I was doing a little consulting kind of a gig, not managing, just he wants some advice. And he was fighting me on putting his prices on the front page. And no, I was like, dude, get with the. I try to be nice, but sometimes I'm just like, I'm pretty blunt. I'm like, get with the times, check your competition, just do it and shut up. It was kind of the bottom line, but I still get it. I still see it. They're afraid of putting their prices out there.
Yeah, to Josh's point, even we've seen that as I've seen that people are willing to drive just a little bit further now for a lower rate.
All right,
Because
no,
he said that
okay,
he's seen
I might
prices
be opening up a
drop.
whole can of worms here, so we'll see.
Oh, we only have 15 minutes left.
I know, I know. So
Yeah,
we're gonna do the Cliff Note version here. Speaking of prices, and again, we all know about these stupid fire sales the REITs are doing and just giving it away. And we know what they're doing on the back end by raising everybody 3 months later, but your average Joe doesn't know that's what's gonna happen. Have you seen websites or operators or how effectively combating that with their prices online? Or are they doing some sort of a price guarantee or something like that? I'm going through this too. I mean, I don't, there's no right or wrong answer, frankly. It's a big one, but it's a marketing question because it's a marketing angle. How are you pricing your specials?
You can't beat them, join them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
I will argue that because I've got one guy who's got an
argue
extra
it.
space that's
Yeah,
got $7,
oh, yeah.
4 or 5 by 10. So I don't know if we're joining them there. Unfortunately, we just got to cling on to life until they fill up. That we do generally like try to meet it somewhere in the middle, but yeah, extra spaces in some areas killing it.
Yeah, it can be extremely challenging. I think honestly, at the end of the day, when you're dealing with something like extra or public or cube in your area, one of the best things that you can do to combat that is if a customer calls you, pick up the phone, do not miss that call. Every lead is precious. And make sure you're closing the sale, right? You need to make sure that whoever is answering that phone is closing the sale. And that's something that is just hugely important to make sure that you're looking at, because if they're calling you, there's a need and you do not want to miss that opportunity.
Right.
yeah, and I think we'll definitely do. I mean, that's a whole other hour right there. Just sales.
Yeah.
That's a vitally important part of this component. But
Right. And then of course,
I want to
another
get the phone to ring
component
first.
totally be a follow-up program, because I can talk
Yeah.
about an hour on that just alone. So
And we can bring Shannon in.
yeah, she's good on that one.
Hey
But
guys, and for the last 10 minutes, if you don't mind, just put in the comments, everyone that's on here. I know this hasn't been very interactive, but I'm hopefully getting something out of it. Just put in the comments, do you like this format? Do you want us to do this maybe like once a month of just solely on marketing? Maybe we can do one that's just solely on sales, that kind of a thing. Just anything goes. Put in the comments, let me know, give me your feedback. I would love to see that because again, it takes time and effort to do this kind of thing. So I just want to make sure you guys are getting some value out of it. Cool. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Few more minutes here. No, we've got so much to cover, but I want to make sure is it something else that's top of mind you want to make sure we hit here?
well, and I think one of the other things is, we have these sessions.
Jennifer.
Yeah, we have these
Overwhelming.
sessions and it's overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
But I think what's great about this industry is that if you've got an expert who's speaking and you need clarification or just a little more guidance, we're all willing to help. So you can always reach out to any of us and we can answer those questions for you. We can give you your input. I mean, that's what I really have enjoyed. And this has changed a lot since I started in storage. It used to be everybody kept all their information siloed, nobody wanted to share, ideas. And that's changed. And it's amazing in this industry that we can come together like this and have a forum like this, but know that you're not left just, twisting in the wind. And if you have a follow-up question, or if you wanted to dig deeper into another subject, you've got resources. We're here for you, And so I think that's what's really important about these sessions is that you actually can find an expert that can answer those questions that didn't get answered. And we can have another topic, we can create another topic about it and talk about it.
That's why I kind of like this. We can go deep on
Yeah.
this stuff. There's so many times I'll see, webinars and other things, and they hit on something like, oh wait, go back, but yeah, time's passed. So hopefully this kind of allows things to breathe a little bit.
What I'm going to do after
Go
this
in
call is I'm going to do like a directory of all the words that we use, and I'm going to send it to you, Jim, and you can send it to all the people who are on this call. So that way I feel like people kind of can go back and be like, oh, that's what they meant.
Yeah.
We were saying all these words that we might have thought we thought we were like bringing it down. But of course, me and Cori, when we get in the room together, we're just like,
We geek out. That's okay.
I want to make sure I hit on this too before we wrap up too much. I put it in chat. I've talked about this before, but honestly, I haven't talked about it enough, I don't think. 3milenetwork.com, and I got to plug you because you helped me out on this for one of these sessions here. So let me just show you real quick. So go to 3 Mile Storage or 3milenetwork.com for a second. And let me show you real quick because I think this will kind of dovetails what we're talking about here. A lot of things. Bring you to this page. It's free. You know me. Everything I do is as much as I can do it for free. Put your email, put your name in there, check out. You'll get a login. Once you log on, you'll get these courses. Okay. Kind of what dovetails on what we're talking about here today would be this marketing workshop. I'll click on it. Eva, there's yours. Got a couple from Eva on here. Marketing audits, mastery, like a 33-minute kind of a deep dive on that. There's your Google ads. We kind of hit on that too, but a lot more deep dive on 30-minute just on Google ads.
Yep.
I got my buddy Gabe doing, he got 3 little shorter ones. Lessons to avoid doing audits, this kind of things. Like, don't waste your money. Just going through some real world case studies, going through your websites, competing with the big boys kind of stuff. So go through this one first. Again, this is all free. Got Eva on there a couple times. We'll have to do another session. I'll get you on there, Cori. It's before you're on my radar. But it's all these courses, automations. I've done summits in the past with pretty much anybody and everybody in the industry. They're all here as well. I mean, just kind of show you real quick. There's our Beat the REITs Summit. Of course, things are running kind of slow, but there you go. All the big names in the industry. We're all here giving advice, kind of short and sweet, golden nuggets for you. So again, this is a free resource, 3milenetwork.com. There you go. Hopefully that can help some people. So I want to make sure we hit on that before we wrapped up too much stuff. Okay. Any questions we're missing here? Let's look.
So I just threw my contact information in chat.
Nice.
You might want to do the same so anybody can reach out. Like I said, everyone here is so willing to help. And I think the other key component to this industry is if we can't help you, we know somebody who can. And we're willing to share that too. So I think that's a
I always say storage is like 2 degrees of separation. It's like, if we can help it, we know
oh,
next person up. So I love it.
absolutely. Absolutely. But Cedric, definitely please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you specifically. I did deal a lot with kiosks at my previous company as well. And so I have a lot of thoughts for you on that.
Will do. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now I put my email on there. You got yours on there, Cori. You got yours. Okay.
Yep.
We're covered there.
Yeah.
What else we got? I gotta show you something. This is, again, I have no problems picking on people. And I think I've shown this before, but we were talking about just once they come to your site, what is one thing that people can do, like at least one takeaway after they leave here today? Is there something they can change on their website that would help in one way, shape, or form? I'm gonna show you my recommendation, but then you can bring up something.
So my one thing is just going to make sure that your title tag on your facility page has your special. Tell your website provider, go to your website provider, say, hey, change my title tag. I want my special to be the first thing that shows up, and then storage units city name.
I was going to say, don't forget storage units in the city. You want to
Sorry, special storage units city name.
Yeah.
Those 3 things.
I mean, can you just put like a demo sample in the chat? Something they can like just somebody had some of a template to follow for that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because that's big, and it's easy. I mean, that's one thing I want.
So easy. Yeah.
All right, here you guys.
And if your website person gives you flack about that, then definitely look for someone else.
Right.
That's 101. You should be able to change your title tags without much fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
next thing, and I've seen this, I've picked on these guys before, but whatever, I can do it again. Look, when you're going in and you're doing your sizes on your storage software, a lot of times you'll do 5x5s, 5x10s, mess with the height sometimes. Well, just because it looks good on your storage software, that's getting displayed on your website. And oh my gosh, it gets so confusing so quickly. If you're a customer, you land on these guys. Oh yeah, look at all the 5x5s, all these 5x10s. Like what's the difference? What's going on here?
And why is there one that's $600? A 5x8 is $600.
No,
Oops.
who knows? It's it's some owners are just crazy. I've actually tried to reach out to these guys, going, dudes, just look at your what's going on. They've never responded, so I figure if they haven't responded, I can keep picking on them.
Yeah.
But just look at this. Look at your site, guys, and just be like, making sure your storage software is
Just
in tune with what's getting displayed on your website. A lot of times they're dovetailed
Right.
together. So please.
1,000%. Do a rental on your own website. Go through the process. You will understand frustrations and pain points immediately when you go through that process. Shop with as you're a customer and see what happens. And that gives you so much insight. So much insight.
Yep. I love it when even I do the same thing, but have someone that's not associated with storage, whatever, they come in blind, just and rip it apart, try to rent the unit, look, get some feedback, that kind of thing. Because I get more out of that than someone in the industry sometimes going through it, because you just come up with stuff that we kind of have blinders on sometimes, and sometimes you'll see stuff like, oh crap, I didn't even notice that. So it helps a lot. All right, we are almost out of time. That hour goes by fast. That's
It did.
crazy. Well, I hope you guys got something out of this. Really appreciate it. I put my email in there, jim@3milestorage.com. I don't know, send me a message. Something you got a value out of this. I'll make sure Eva and Cori get that as well, as a pat on the back for taking the time out and doing this, and give them back out to you guys. So if you got something out of it, great. We'll I think we'll do this again. This was fun. I appreciate it. So I'm glad you guys got on.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I loved
Yeah.
all the questions. I hope you guys have more questions next time and bring some personal ones, like that we can give you guys some like tasks on next time. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, here you go. I'll give that everyone a homework assignment. Anybody that wants to do a hot seat and are ready and willing to be able to have us tear you
Ooh.
apart. Serious.
We will do it.
But it'll be good.
But be ready. Be ready. We're not gonna hurt your feelings.
I'm serious.
Volunteer, yes, but
So
no.
I think you get more out of like a real world case study. We'd probably do a little homework ahead of time. We won't do it all in real time, but we can showcase what we've gone over. I've seen one site just kind of going through the filter of our kind of marketing expertise here, and then bringing the results back. So I think other people can see themselves in that site and make those improvements. So if you're game for that, cool. Email me and just say, hey, I'll do a hot seat. So and we'll chat. I think that'd be kind of fun. All right, it's been an hour. Thank you
Awesome.
everybody for joining us here. I'm gonna go and take my wife out for lunch. It's our 27th anniversary day.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
Happy anniversary.
Happy
Yeah.
anniversary. Well,
Time
thanks
flies.
everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you all soon.
Thanks, Eva.
Thanks.
Thanks, Cori and the Gems. Appreciate it.
All right,
All
take
right.
care. See ya.